Hey ghouls and gals, welcome back to my channel. My name is Taylor and today's video is going to be the spring reading tag. If you are interested in doing this tag, I will leave in the description bar all of the prompts and then also the original tag video, so definitely check that out if you're interested in doing this tag. But without further ado, let's just go ahead and get started. So question number one is, what books are you most excited to read over the next few months? And I have so many. It is so hard to narrow it down. I do have just some self-promo here. I make a video every single month of some of my most anticipated releases, and I do one for every month of the year. There's usually around 6 to 8, sometimes 10 to 12 books on there, so definitely check those out for like a very long list of books I'm excited about. If I were to narrow it down just off the top of my head, I think my top 3 would probably be The Last Graduate by Naomi Novik. That's a sequel to A Deadly Education that is coming out at the end of spring, beginning of summer. The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. I think this is also one that's either coming out early summer or end of spring. Very excited about that. He's one of my favorite authors. And then also She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Tran. I am so excited for this one. This is the author's debut novel, so I've never read anything by them before, but I'm very excited to pick this one up. This has been hyped for fans of the Poppy War series, and it's kind of like a Mulan retelling, so I'm looking forward to that one a lot as well. Question number 2 is, which book most makes you think of spring? And just off of the top of my head, I would have to say the Redwall series as a whole by Brian Jakes. I do not know what it is about spring that makes me really want to reread like my comfort series, my childhood favorite series, but definitely Redwall is one of those. I don't know what it is, but something about spring just screams, let's read some middle grade fantasy. This is just absolutely wonderful. I like hyping this series up as like Lord of the Rings if all the characters were anthropomorphic animals, and it is just so much fun. Honestly, these books really pack a punch for middle grade, so it's definitely a series if you've never read it before. As an adult, I think you would still really enjoy them, and honestly, Redwall is probably one of the like weakest installations in the series, but there are about 20 to 25 books in this series. They're all a whole lot of fun. There's always like feasts and quests and traveling, so I don't know why, but this series just really gives me all of those spring vibes. The next question is, the days are now getting longer. What is the longest book you've ever read? I am pretty sure that it is going to be It by Stephen King. This is over 1,000 pages. It is a whopper of a tome. I know Priory is right there and it's very big, but it is deceptively big. I don't think that one reaches over 900 pages. This one definitely gets up into the thousands, which is crazy. At least this copy that I have on me is 1,153 pages, so this is probably the biggest book I've ever read. Once I eventually finally complete the Stand extended edition, it will probably be that one. The next prompt is, what books would you recommend to brighten someone's day? And for that, for my like all-encompassing recommendation, I would say pick out a book you liked as a child and reread that. That is guaranteed, I feel like, to give you a good day. There's just something about rereading a childhood fave that just instant hit of serotonin to your system, so I would definitely say do that. And obviously that answer is going to change for anyone. I mean, maybe not if your favorite childhood series was Series of Unfortunate Events. That gets pretty bleak, but I'm also a person who reads a lot of horror and grimdark fantasy for fun, and like It is one of my favorite comfort books and movies. We don't need to visit that. So, you know, if you're a little dark like me, maybe that won't brighten your day, but I have a feeling most of us, our childhood favorites are just guaranteed to bring a smile to our face. If you want a specific book recommendation from me, I would highly recommend the Witch graphic novel series. If you like the original Teen Titans cartoon, or if you liked the TV show Totally Spies or Avatar: The Last Airbender, I think you would really like this graphic novel series. It's a bit of an older series, and I think the first couple of volumes really show its age in terms of technology with like the cell phones and desktop computers that people are using. I think this came out in like 2000s, like early 2000s. But Disney recently acquired this series and are putting out new books in this series, so it's a great time to hop on board. This is definitely one of my favorite childhood graphic novel series. It's about a group of young teens who realize they each have the power of a specific element and they need to band together to save the world from evil. Very simple premise. I feel like it's a premise that a lot of us really, really love. Elemental magic, girl power. It's a really great, wholesome series. Question number 5 is spring brings new life in nature. Think of a book that doesn't exist, but you wish it did. And for this one, I'm going to say I think it would be absolutely wonderful if Samantha Shannon wrote a dark academia novel. A dark, magical academia novel. I would really love that. Or it doesn't have to be dark, but just any sort of academia sort of feel with magical elements. It doesn't have to be all of them, but if she wrote something like that, I feel like her writing style would be perfectly attuned to that type of story. She is one of my favorite authors, and I feel like she's proven through the Bone Season series and Priory of the Orange Tree that she's really good at creating both magic systems that are complex and easy to understand, and also big complex worlds. So I feel like she would be really great at doing a book like that. Of course, I could be a little biased because, again, I just absolutely love academia themed stories. It can be dark academia, light academia, magical or not. Love anything having to do with that. And then also she's one of my favorite authors, but I think she would be really, really good at that project. Question number 6 is spring is also a time of growth. How has your reading changed over the years? And for me, if we're looking at my reading habits now as opposed to when I was a kid, absolutely, I have to say I read horror now. I didn't, well, actually I did read horror as a kid. I read Goosebumps and like Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, but I definitely read more horror now. I definitely read more fantasy and more like epic fantasy. I was kind of into like urban or portal fantasy as a kid. I just feel like, especially when I grew up, that was pretty much the fantasy that was for children at the time, just in terms of trends. And then I also read a lot more sci-fi and just like speculative fiction in general. I used to read a lot more historical fiction and contemporary when I was a kid, so just in terms of genres, that's what's really changed for me. And then I would have to say, in terms of reading in general, I tend to reread a lot less now. When I was a kid, I did tend to reread things a lot, and I wouldn't just reread books that I loved and were some of my favorites. I would just kind of reread books that I recognized at the library that I had checked out before and knew were like a good time. So I definitely tended to reread a lot and reread in terms of series and just favorite books in series and stuff like that a lot more than I do now. I still do rereads, but mostly I do try and read more new fiction. So that's another thing that's definitely changed as well. And I think also just in terms of, again, I feel like I'm showing my age, but as a kid, there definitely wasn't as much like internet access in terms of finding out new books. It was pretty much just go to your local library and see what they had on the display for you, whereas now obviously it's so easy to follow authors on social media, go to Goodreads, look up new books that way, go on Bookstagram, BookTube, Book Twitter, all of that. I feel like it's a whole lot easier to find more new books and then just to kind of broaden your horizons that way as well. Question number 7. We're now a couple of months into the new year. How is your reading going? And I would have to say good. I would say more and more every year I'm becoming more ruthless at DNFs and just really stopping reading books that I'm not really loving. So there's that going for me. The amount of books that I've managed to actually complete are books that overall I'm liking more because I'm not afraid now to DNF more and more each year. So that's really good. And then also I have found a number of books. I feel like knock on wood for this, but I feel like I found a number of really great books, potentially new all-time favorites. And then I also feel like some books that are coming out this year, especially this summer, I feel like has the potential for a lot of books, potentially new favorite books of all time or just new favorite books by specific authors. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And every single year I feel like that I am like an avid reader. I feel like I get better and better at reading a book synopsis and kind of figuring out whether or not I would be interested in the book just based on the synopsis and like the first chapter or so. So that's really been helping me as well. But yeah, overall my reading this year so far has been excellent. And the final question of this tag, are there any plans that you're looking forward to over the next few months? And just in terms of plans, a lot of my favorite authors are coming out with books over the next couple of months, so I'm looking forward to that. I think I already mentioned, I think July, August and September are some of the months that have my most anticipated books that are coming out. Caitlin Starling's coming out with a new book that looks absolutely incredible. Like I already mentioned, Grady Hendrix. Stephen Graham Jones is coming out with a new book. Stephen King's coming out with a new book. There's a lot to be excited about. Mona Awad's coming out with a new book. Silvia Moreno Garcia's coming out with a new book. Again, all of those, I think from July to September, it's gonna be a really good couple of months for my reading. But in terms of like YouTube specific projects, I do have two pretty big projects planned for the fall. One I haven't started on yet, but it is going to be, I'd say, end of September, early October. Another one I'm also planning for early October. I've actually started reading books and planning that video out now. It's very hefty. I'm a little nervous. I'm not going to get it completed in time for spooky season, which I know most people are looking for horror content, but I do have those two big projects that I'm very, very excited about and very excited to share with you guys. Hopefully this is my accountability video that I will be able to get them done, especially the second one I mentioned. It is a very, very large undertaking. But there you have it. That is going to be it for this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what would be your dream project for one of your favorite authors to do that they haven't done yet. Subscribe for more content from me. Stay safe, stay spooky, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye!